Here are some ways that teachers can use ChatGPT. So I'm going to talk specifically about ESL or EFL teachers. But first of all, before I get into the ways that you can use ChatGPT, I just want to give kind of a caution about it. I use it a lot for my teaching, for the websites that I do, my books, that kind of thing. And I mean, sometimes it's good, but you really have to double check about what's happening. So for example, if I'm doing a little lesson plan for my students and there's a reading passage and I put that reading passage into ChatGPT and say, make some comprehension questions. Sometimes it mixes up the names, sometimes it does the same question twice, that kind of thing. So don't just cut and paste and assume it's all good. You really need to check what ChatGPT does and just make sure it's perfect, exactly what you want. So the first thing I could do that I've already mentioned is that I would take a reading passage, or maybe I'd write a little passage, and then it can make some comprehension questions for you, and it can also give you the answers. You can also use it to make multiple choice questions for a test. The third thing you can do is to make a lesson plan. You can say, just type something like, make a lesson plan about the simple past for ESL or EFL. It will come up with a lesson plan. However, check carefully to make sure it's appropriate, it's at the level that you want. And you can kind of just keep giving it more and more prompts. Like, for example, if it just does the lesson and then maybe you want to add in another little reading passage with simple past, you could type that in. So you can kind of just use it to refine what you want and just play around. It really kind of depends on your style, and it can kind of give you a really varied lesson plan in terms of quality. So just have a look and just keep typing. If you're not exactly happy with what there is, give it more prompts and then you can kind of refine it to exactly what you do want. The next thing you can do is to ask for some definitions for vocabulary. So for example, if you're teaching vocabulary and you just look in a dictionary, the definitions might actually be too difficult for your students. So you could say, write a very simple definition for whatever word. All right, the next thing you can do is if you, for example, want to talk about something that's in the news and you find like a news article on BBC or CNN or something like that, it can actually be too difficult for your beginner and intermediate students. So you could take that, put it into ChatGPT and just say, make this very simple, or make this simpler in terms of grammar and vocabulary. So you can kind of grade reading passages that way. All right, the next thing you can do is to make worksheets. So you can say something like, make a worksheet to review the simple past for beginners or for intermediate. There are a million things you can do, but it can be just a very fast way. Of course, double check the questions and then also the answers. All right, the next thing you can do is get it to explain grammar. So you could say, explain the simple past for basic beginners or very beginners for ESL. And you can come up with a very simple explanation in ChatGPT, and you can kind of just take that and put that into your lesson. All right, the next way to use ChatGPT in a class is if you are doing a brainstorming activity, you can just quickly put it into ChatGPT after you've done the activity and see what additional answers come up. All right, the next thing you can do is use it to find errors in writing. So if you're a teacher and students submit an essay, you can kind of just cut and paste, put it into ChatGPT and say, find the errors. It can often be much quicker than you just going line by line by line through that essay. Students can also use it to kind of double check their own writing. All right, the final thing you can do is to come up with some topic ideas for whatever level you want. You can type into ChatGPT, what are some topics for ESL beginners, or what are some vocabulary sets for ESL beginners, and you'll kind of get a list of ideas that you could design a lesson plan around. Okay, so those are my top 10 tips for using ChatGPT for ESL or EFL teachers. If you like these ideas, please be sure to check out my book, 103 Low Prep ESL Speaking Games and Activities. Okay, please hit like, subscribe, and I will catch you next time, everyone.